Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. It looks like the numbers are slowing down just a little bit as far as people logging in, so that's a good time for us to go ahead and get started. Today's webinar is how to find flexible jobs and 3 companies hiring. My name is Bree Reynolds and I'm the content director at FlexJobs. We're presenting this webinar today. Thank you all very much for attending. I know that you're all eager to hear about the flexible job market and specifically from 3 companies that we work with to hire for flexible jobs. So let's go ahead and get started. I just wanted to go over a couple housekeeping notes. This webinar will be recorded, so you can sit back, relax, take notes, and then know that tomorrow you will also get a link to be able to view the webinar again. So if you do miss anything or you wanted to go over something again, you'll be able to view the webinar recording again, and you'll receive a link to do that tomorrow. We're going to send out an email. Also, if you have any questions as we're going through the presentation, please feel free to ask them. I know a couple people have already discovered the questions area on your GoToWebinar control panel. If you don't see your control panel, look around for a little orange arrow, and when you click that arrow, the control panel will open up, and you'll be able to see the questions box. You can ask your questions throughout the presentation, and we're actually going to save them for a Q&A session at the very end of the presentation, the last 15 or 20 minutes or so. And we'll be asking sort of the most relevant questions that everybody could benefit from. So please feel free to ask your questions and we will try to answer as many of them as we can. So today's topics for our webinar, we're going to be discussing about FlexJobs, trends in the flexible job market, common industries and jobs for flexible work, our company guest panel, which I know you're very excited for, that's going to include representatives from LoveToKnow, StenTel, and Teach for America. They're going to be talking about why flexible work is important to their companies or organizations and what they look for in flexible workers. So as job seekers, you'll be able to figure out, how to position yourselves, what it is to be a flexible worker, and what companies are looking for. Then we're going to discuss some action items and helpful FlexJobs resources so that you all can start your job search or bump it up to the next level. Once we're off the webinar, you'll have some action items to act on. And then the question and answer session. We'll be going over that. So just a little bit about our employer guest panel, and you will be hearing from all 3 of these representatives in just a few minutes. We have 3 fantastic companies that are all hiring for flexible jobs. Their discussion, as I said, is going to include why flexible work is important to their company and what they look for in hiring flexible workers. We have Ann McDonald, who's the Director of Content Strategy at LoveToKnow, Sandy Knowlton, who's the Human Resources Manager at StenTel, and Ty Dixon, who's the National Talent Acquisition Managing Director at Teach for America. So very excited to introduce them. And before we get into the company panel, let's just talk a little bit about FlexJobs. For those of you who are unaware or who are new to FlexJobs, we were founded in 2007, so we're celebrating our 8th year. We list pre-screened telecommuting, flexible schedule, full-time and part-time, and freelance jobs. And the main thing that sort of sets us apart is the pre-screened part. We look at all of the companies and jobs that are sent to our site before we post them for job seekers to see. We try to weed out scams and make sure that they're professional level and flexible jobs. That's really the key there. We have over 50, actually this should say over 60 staffers now who all work from home. So we really walk the walk when it comes to flexibility. And we have helped over 1 million job seekers since our founding in 2007. We have over 30,000 researched and vetted companies on our site, and you can access these companies through a free company guide where you can search for companies based on location, based on industry, all sorts of different areas. And so that's a really helpful resource, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And we're also a membership site, which means that job seekers pay a small fee to access the job listings and detailed job information on our site. There's a lot that you can access for free, so I invite everybody, if you haven't already, to please check it out. And you can see all of the jobs listed. You just can't see the detailed contact information and extended job descriptions until you're a member. The reason that we're a membership site is because of the screening process. Really, we screen every job and company before they get posted, and this way our sole focus really is on the job seeker. Our #1 goal is to make job searching faster, easier, and safer for job seekers, and by having it be a membership site, we're able to devote our full attention to our job seekers. And so it's, in case anyone's wondering, if you're not already aware, it's $14.95 a month or $49.95 per year. And if you do complete the survey at the end of this webinar, you'll receive you'll have the ability to sign up for our newsletter where you can get discounts and things like that. We're also a sister site to 1 Million for Work Flexibility, and for anybody who's interested in flexible work or thinks that flexible work is sort of a necessity in today's work environment, this is a great place to go and sign a petition and add your name to the many voices who are calling for more work flexibility. So please feel free to check out workflexibility.org. Now, let's get into the meat of it, the trends in the flexible job market. So we're going to be just looking at what the flexible job market looks like right now. If you're looking for a flexible job, what's out there for you, and also trends. What can you expect over the next few years in terms of flexible jobs? So first, flexible job. It's kind of a broad term, and I wanted to define it pretty quickly here. So telecommuting, freelance, part-time, and flexible schedule are all things that we consider flexible jobs. And part-time, I do mean part-time professional level jobs. So those are things that professionals, into their careers could be doing on a part-time basis. So when I say flexible jobs, I mean any combination of those sorts of things. For example, I work full-time as a telecommuter, and I have a flexible schedule. So there's two types of flexibility right there off the bat, and you could be any combination of those. So who's actually working flexibly already? About 24% of U.S. workers telecommute some hours each week. 34% of U.S. workers are freelancers. 12% are part-time by choice, meaning that those are the number of hours that they choose to have. 4.4% work from home every day, and 50% have remote compatible jobs, which means that 50% of the U.S. workforce have jobs that could be done from their homes, which is a huge number, of course. And so, phone and email and all of the things that we use for our jobs regularly, those make them more portable and more compatible with working from home. And then trends in flexible work. So for a few different surveys that we've seen, in 2013, about 80% of employers surveyed plan to increase their flexible workforce. So a good sign there, lots of people looking to increase it. In 2014, we found that 83% of HR professionals say that remote work will increase over the next 5 years. And we've heard statistics that say by 2020, freelancers will be more than 40% of all workers. So growth in all areas of flexibility, which is really great if you're looking for a flexible job. Some top career fields for flexible jobs. So what is actually out there, who's hiring, and where are those jobs? These are the career fields that we find on a consistent basis have the most telecommuting and flexible job listings. And we look at this data month over month to find out which career fields are hiring for the most flexible jobs. And the reason that I put 14 up here is just so that you can see kind of the wide mix that we find. On any given month, this will change, the position in which they find themselves will change. And so I wanted to include more than 10 because this really does show the variety of career fields for the most common or with the most telecommuting and flexible jobs. If you don't see your career field listed up here, though, I definitely recommend doing some research and seeing what's out there for your particular career field. And you can do that on FlexJobs. If you go to flexjobs.com/jobs, you can see all 100 career categories. There are over 100 career categories and subcategories that we look at to find out if your career field does hire for flexible jobs. And this is, of course, we have over 100. This is just a very small sample, but it's where a lot of those telecommuting and flexible job listings are found. Some common flexible job titles include the 20 or so that you see listed here. We got this list by basically asking our researchers. We have a team of job researchers who go out and scour the internet and company websites and all sorts of different places to find flexible job listings. And these are the titles that they see coming up over and over and over again. Again, this doesn't mean that you are limited to only these jobs. This is just a sample of very common flexible job titles, but there are certainly many more job titles out there that are jobs that offer flexibility. So again, this isn't to limit, it's only to give you an idea of the variety of stuff that's out there. And so you can see everything from writer to engineer to interpreter or translator to business development, marketing, travel counselor, systems analyst. There's all sorts of different opportunities out there. There really is a wide variety of jobs. All right, well, that is enough for me. I know that you all want to hear from our company panel, so I am going to turn it over first to Ann McDonald, who's the Director of Content Strategy at LoveToKnow. And Ann, we just want to hear about LoveToKnow and why flexible work is important to you all, and then what you look for when you're hiring flexible workers. So Ann, thank you so much for being here today.
Good morning, good afternoon, I guess where some of you are. I'm Ann McDonald. I'm Director of Content Strategy with LoveToKnow Corp. LoveToKnow is an online media company. We run a number of websites, all with useful information and various online solutions. We have a diverse team of around 50 people that includes full-time and part-time employees as well as freelance contractors. Our team includes web developers, a system administrator, an editorial staff of writers and editors, as well as an editorial manager, graphics designers and image specialists, quality assurance staff, product managers, and administrators. While many companies allow telecommuting or flexible schedules for certain roles or at certain times, LoveToKnow is fairly unique in that we are an entirely virtual company. 100% of our team telecommutes and has flexible schedules. In fact, we don't even really have a corporate office location. Our company is technically based in California in the San Francisco Bay Area, where our CEO lives, but we have team members all over the world. The reason we've chosen to go with that style of company is that flexible work allows us not only to have lower overhead costs so that we can deliver more products for less to our web customers, but also it allows us to find people with great skills and expertise regardless of their geographic locations. It's allowed us to expand to not worry about whether people are within commuting distance. And we found that really brings us the best possible team that we can have. Since our whole team is virtual, we definitely do things a little differently than a lot of companies when it comes to hiring and also workspace management. We usually make initial contact with applicants by email, sometimes even asking them a few preliminary questions or for work samples by email. Then, while we usually proceed to a phone interview with our qualified people or multiple phone interviews, we don't often talk to them in person. While this may seem a little odd to people who are used to working in a more traditional environment, we found that we can actually learn most everything we need to about someone remotely. And that's sort of as we plan to go on. One of the most critical skills we look for in every potential team member is their communication skills. While good communication is important to most companies, I think most hiring managers would say that that's important to them, it is vital in a remote environment. Since we aren't all in the same place physically, we have to make extra effort to share information with each other. This means, in addition to stellar written and spoken communications, we need people who are actually forthcoming with information. Depending on their roles, this can mean they provide regular status reports, and it can also just mean a willingness to discuss challenges and questions as soon as they arise. We found that the people who succeed in our organization style are proactive and take initiative while keeping their team members apprised of their work status. Good organization and time management skills are also key. Working from home can offer some really unique challenges to those, especially those who are easily distracted. So I often ask questions about how candidates manage their tasks and their to-do lists and their overall work time. Of course, it's a plus when people have previously worked from home, even part-time or 1 day a week, for example, as I know they already understand what to expect in this style of environment. However, we found that anyone who's really interested in telecommuting, has a good home office setup, and wants to make it work usually can succeed in our environment. LoveToKnow is currently looking for writers, and we actually expect to post a couple new writing positions to FlexJobs later this week. And we have other growth areas where we expect to post positions in the next few weeks. So we're really looking forward to growth and also our partnership with FlexJobs, We've actually found and hired several of our current team members via FlexJobs, including a product manager, QA person, several writers and editors. Oh, and also some graphic specialists. Finally, I'd just like to thank you for taking the time to learn more about LoveToKnow and our flexible work environment.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Anne. You managed to pack in a lot of good information into a short amount of time. So thank you very much. And it looks like there's a bunch of questions coming in too. So we will get to those in the question and answer session. But you've definitely got some fans out there. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right. And next up on our employer panel, we have Sandy Knowlton. Sandy works for StenTel. She is their human resources manager. And Sandy, I'd love to hear more about StenTel and the flexible jobs that you offer.
Well, hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Sandy, and I'm from StenTel Transcription. I've been with the company for 15 years now, and I do the human resources for our in-house employees, but also I do the hiring and recruiting for our independent contractors. So a lot of people have come to us from FlexJobs looking for positions for transcription work that we have available. We do everything from medical transcription to legal, insurance, public safety, and just general transcription. It could be meetings or seminars that somebody has had and we've had to transcribe those. Most everything now is dictated over the phone or through a recorder and then recorded up to the platform that has been chosen by the client. We have large hospitals all over the United States, from Boston, Massachusetts, all the way out to California. We have insurance companies all over the United States also, and we have legal divisions for some of the insurance companies, and we have police departments. We hire independent contractors to work from home. It's flexible because you can set the own schedule that you would like to work. You work from home, don't have to get up in the morning. You can stay in your pajamas and stay nice and comfy. Anytime you're going to take time off, that's up to your discretion. You just let us know so that we know we have coverage on the accounts that you're working on. We don't offer any benefits for the independent contractors. The flexibility of being able to work from home is really, I think, what a lot of people like, because they can set the schedule they want to work. Right now we have a huge hospital that started with us in May, and there are over 1,000 dictators on this account, and they've been rolling out slowly over the last few months and have much more work to offer us. So we're looking probably to hire another 50 medical transcriptionists. We do prefer that our medical transcriptionists have gone through a certificate program. I can send you information on that down the road, or you can go to our website, and I'll get that information over shortly when we have our questions. AHDI is the Association for Healthcare Integrity, and if you go onto their website, they can also give you information on different schools that offer the transcription program. Taking the program only helps you and prepares you for the industry of doing medical transcription. It's not required for insurance and legal and police for you to take any kind of a program, but having a background in doing transcription is a plus. It only helps you to, to better knowledge with whatever we offer you to work on. We have, let's see, the hospital that's coming up and additional work that will be coming up. What else can I tell you? We're located in Springfield, Mass., but we have over 300 plus independent contractors that work across the United States. So we test all of our candidates in whatever field that they're applying for, and upon passing the testing, we will get out documentation to you that needs to be returned to us. We then provide you with an instructional session to show you how to use the platform we put you on. So we have over 6 different platforms and growing that we work with. We work with traditional transcription, but we also work with speech recognition or voice recognition, depending on how, everybody designates how they call it, but it's work that comes through as a draft from the dictator. So the dictator will dictate so many hours of dictation, and it's all transcribed manually, and then eventually the transcriptionist will then see a draft of that dictator's dictation, and they have to listen and read and make any changes. So eventually it's really quickly that you can go through them, because once they start getting recognized and you make changes, their reports will come through much clearer. It's usually about a 75 to 80 to 20% ratio. So 75 to 80% of the work would be editing, and 25 to 30 would be editing, or transcription. Sorry, I said that backwards. I apologize. So 80% editing, 30% or 25% can be transcription. We have some smaller accounts that are just all traditional transcription, but most of the work, I would say about 75 to 80% of our accounts, are all on a speech recognition platform. We have a great team of QA, in-house and independent contractors that work with us. Account managers are always there and helpful. I'm trying to think what else I can provide you. Bree, do you want me to provide the website information, or do that later on when the questions come up?
Sure, go ahead and provide it now, and then we can also provide it later too, and I'll type it out for the audience to see in the chat.
Sure. Sure. So you can go to www.StenTel, and that's all one word, StenTel.com, and there's a career section up there you can apply to. It'll ask you all the questions that we need to know about, you know, your experience, what kind of computer you have, what hours you're looking to work, and the pay that you're looking for. And then that helps us to get back to you and let you know if you're qualified for the position. I know a lot of MTs or even just transcriptionists are looking to buy the best technology and the latest and greatest, and buying, you know, Windows 8 or upgrading to Windows 10. So I just have to let you know that not all of the platforms are up to date with what's out there for the technology, because we have to then test it when it comes out to be new. So just be cautious of buying brand new computers if you're looking to get into that industry, because some of the platforms aren't compatible with those yet, because we have to get them up to compatibility with them. And I think that's about what I can offer right now, and we can ask questions later at the Q&A.
Great. Thank you so much, Sandy. I think that was fantastic info. And just like Anne, we've got a lot of questions rolling in about transcription jobs. So we'll have lots for you to answer later. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And our last, but certainly not least, employer panelist today is Ty Dixon from Teach for America. So Ty, who's the Managing Director of National Talent Acquisition, we're welcoming you to the webinar. Thank you very much for being here, and tell us about Teach for America.
Thank you. I certainly will. I'm Ty Dixon. I have been on Teach for America staff for the past 5 years full-time. Before that, I was a practicing attorney, and before that, I was a teacher through Teach for America, going to law school in between. And I say that to say I've been connected to this mission for a very long time, since 2002, and it's very close to my heart. For those of you who do not know what Teach for America does, we are a national social justice nonprofit. We provide teachers, full-time teachers, pre-K through 12, in the primary subjects and in English as a second language and special education across the country. So I do want to be clear that the flexible jobs that I'm here talking about today are not flexible jobs for teachers. Obviously, you cannot be a classroom teacher remotely, but a lot of people don't know the kind of background of our work takes about 2,300 full-time staff members to make it go. And that is where we do have some space to offer flexibility in the workplace. Our staff is divided into national teams and regional teams. Our regional teams, while they have flexibility in schedule and the ability to work from home on certain days, they typically are more tied to a local office. But our national teams are mostly flexible, and people can be located anywhere in the country and work on most of our national teams. I say most because there are a few exceptions to that because of the nature of a team's work where people all have to be in the same place. But by and large, the majority of our national teams allow people to be located in any place across the country. What I think is unique about Teach for America is that even though we offer that flexibility for our national team members, they have the choice of also working from 52 offices across the country that are offices in our 52 regions. And so I for instance, have a job that is considered location flexible for Teach for America, but I also have a seat in our DC office. So that means on any given day, my job can be done entirely remotely, but if I want the benefit of colleagues in a local office environment, I can come into the DC office, which is about 10 minutes from my home, and I can benefit from that. But when I have projects that are sensitive or personal needs that require me to stay home that day, I can go ahead and stay home. And I don't have to be in the local office, which is a nice piece of flexibility to take care of the things you need to take care of and still have a very challenging and engaging and sophisticated role. So we are currently 24 years old. Like I said, we're in 52 regions. We are supporting and recruiting and training and developing the 11,000 current teachers that we have teaching across the country in those 52 regions. So Teach for America, over the 24 years, we have 36,000 alums that we also work to engage and keep active in education. And all of this work is run by the 2,300 full-time staff members that I mentioned earlier. Our national teams, where we do have that location flexibility that I described, are teams that may mirror some corporate functions that you're more familiar with. So we have a national finance team, a national IT team, a national legal team, a national admin team that deals with our office real estate and office administration. We have the office of our CEO. We have a national marketing and public affairs team. We have national recruitment, which is the team that finds our 11,000 teachers and it recruits them to join the program. We have admissions because we have a very rigorous selection process in accepting people into our program, and it requires a lot of technology, strategy, testing, and improvement every year, and so a lot of those positions are location flexible. We have a national teacher training and support team, a national alumni affairs team, which works with our alums after their 2-year commitment to Teach for America to continue to engage them in education and local civic service. And then we have a human assets team that takes care of the typical human resources functions of Teach for America, which is also a location flexible team. Within all of those teams, we have a range of positions and a range of level of positions, which I think is the cool thing about that. So those ranges include our chief officers, who also have location flexible jobs, down to our assistant level of folks who are supporting people across the organization and everything in between. So there is no level at which in Teach for America you can no longer be flexible. And that is great for people who are interested not only in the flexibility to be at home, but also the ability to grow in their careers and to see and take on higher levels of responsibility over time, but still need that location flexibility and that flexibility in schedule. Our workers are given laptop computers, air cards so that they can use the internet anywhere, and telephones so that they're able to use their mobile telephone anywhere to continue to communicate with their jobs. This is very helpful because it gives us the technology to make sure that everybody can do their work wherever they need to get it done, and we don't have to worry, as Anne mentioned, about whether people are in commuting distance of offices or during their travel, whether they can get their work done. In addition, similar to what the earlier panelists have talked about, we also conduct most of our interview processes virtually. There are some processes where the final interview will be done in person, where Teach for America will ask someone to come in person, but those are for very unique positions, primarily where somebody is going to have some sort of external outreach in-person function for the organization. One of the things that I think bears mentioning is that although many of our national positions are location flexible, one thing that can be a factor in many Teach for America positions is travel. So it ranges depending on the position and team that the person is in. People can travel as infrequently as once to twice a year for team conferences. They can travel as frequently as 1 to 2 times a month, depending on the role. All of our job descriptions that are location flexible should indicate an anticipated level of travel, and that's something to look for if you're looking on our website for positions. Let's just noting if the position says 30% travel or 10% travel, and it usually will have some descriptor there like 1 to 2 times per year, 1 to 2 times per month, so that you can decide whether that's a particular position that might fit well within your life and your needs. I think the type of people that we're looking for are going to be people who can work in a fast-paced and independent environment like that, people who are very much self-starters and bring the skills appropriate for the job, depending on what level of the job it is. And we're looking for primarily a proven track record of success in the areas that the job indicates in the job description are most important. Great communicators and problem solvers that are very efficient, and can really operate within our systems and practices to handle the responsibility of a remote workplace, because it can sometimes get a little complex, making sure that your colleagues are collaborating at the right amount and maybe spread all across the country. To apply for the 300 to 400 postings a year that we have hiring across the organization, all of our job descriptions are posted at teachforamerica.org. And to get specifically to the career resources on that website, you would enter teachforamerica.org/about-us-careers, /careers, Again, that's teachforamerica.org/about-us/careers. And that will take you right to the career link on the page. I do encourage anybody going to our website, considering our positions, to take a look at the other tabs of the website as well, because they have great videos, testimonials, a great blog that our core members, alums, and staff members contribute to that gives you a good feel for the organization. I think that is all that I have at the moment until we get questions from the audience.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ty. And yes, for anybody who's looking for the links on how they can apply to jobs with Teach for America, StenTel, or LoveToKnow, I've added those all to the chat area, so you should see those links appear on your GoToWebinar control panel. And they're links for both their direct careers pages and their pages on FlexJobs, so whether you're not your FlexJobs member. I will say, for anybody who's interested in applying, and based on the questions, I think there are probably a lot of people who are interested in applying for these jobs. If you can mention in your application that you attended this webinar or that you heard about the company through FlexJobs, that would be great, just to kind of give us a sense of who is acting after they come to webinars like this. So yes, thank you all to Anne, Sandy, and Ty for the great overviews of flexible work at your companies and just generally what you're looking for and what it takes to get those types of jobs and what's available. We have a lot of questions coming in, so I am glad we have a little bit of extra time here for the question and answer session. I think first and foremost, everybody's asking, and these came in for each company, so I would like to hear answers from all of you. As far as, do you have any restrictions on who you hire or where they're located, whether they have to be located in the U.S. or can they be located somewhere internationally, or if there are restrictions on specific locations? I know there was some talk about location-specific jobs, so I think those are pretty obvious that those do require a location. But for things for LoveToKnow and transcription, are there sort of restrictions on who you apply, where they're located, and that sort of thing? Anne, would you like to start with LoveToKnow?
For LoveToKnow, we actually, for most of our positions, there are very rare exceptions. We don't have any requirements. So we have people in Europe, we have people in India, we have people in Canada, and of course I have a lot of people across the United States, and we're able to work effectively with all of them. In some rare positions, we're more interested in time zones. So we may ask that somebody make sure to have a certain number of hours that overlap with our core workday hours, regardless of where they're located. But in the case, for example, of one of our engineers in India, that means he works for a couple hours after he has dinner every night before he goes to bed so that we have time to connect.
Great. Those are good examples, and it sounds like you hire from everywhere, so that's easy to remember for people. And Sandy, at StenTel, do you have restrictions?
Yeah, we hire all over the United States. We do hire in Canada. We do hire offshore, but offshore is limited, so there's really not a lot that I can offer to the offshore because many of our accounts want U.S. transcriptionists, so that can be limited. Canada is welcome on most of our accounts, along with Alaska and Hawaii. They're all, part of being able to offer them. So pretty much it's open. There may be some limitations on some of the states out there, like Canada. Some of them are considered offshore, but for the most part, we're pretty open.
Great. All right. That's very good to know. And Ty, at Teach for America, what sorts of restrictions do you have? I know you talked a little bit about the location-specific jobs, but is there anything else, U.S. versus international and that sort of thing? Oh, and one question was also specifically for people who are U.S. citizens living abroad, if they're eligible for any of your jobs.
So for Teach for America, we do have to hire within the United States. I should mention that we have an international sister organization called Teach for All that many people have heard of, and Teach for All is located around the world. They also have location flexible jobs, and they're in over 35 countries, I think, at this point, where they can offer a lot more location flexibility across the world than we can. In terms of restrictions, our job descriptions have on them, if there is a restriction, in the location flexibility. Sometimes our job descriptions will say location flexible, comma, DC or New York preferred. What that generally means is that for some reason, the hiring manager sees it as a plus factor for one employee in that role to be located in one of those places, but is not requiring it as a must. So I would encourage people to still, if they're outside of those preferred regions, to go ahead and apply for a role if they're qualified for it and meet the requirements of it, because very often there can be some flexibility there. I know that there are some limitations in terms of our IT team members doing tech functions. They've got to be located in our headquarters in New York because they work frequently together in person, and so the IT team is, if they're in a technological function, have to all be in New York. Much of our finance team is located in New York, but that's not true for every role. A lot of our government affairs team members will be restricted to Washington, D.C. because they need to be available to go to Capitol Hill. And if someone is outside of those geographic locations, we will often ask if they've got a high tolerance for travel to be able to go to those preferred locations, very often to collaborate with team members or outside constituents as needed.
Awesome, thank you.
And the second part of the question was about U.S. citizens living abroad. I think that we still have to have people located in the geographic United States in order to work active full-time at Teach for America.
Okay, that makes sense. Another question that we have coming in, this is for Anne in particular, would love to know. A number of people have asked, I know you might not be able to cover this since you do have a lot of different topics, but what sorts of writing or writers are you looking for, topics and things like that, just in general? And do you need to be an experienced writer, or can you be new to freelance writing in order to get a job with LoveToKnow?
Okay, that's lots of questions. One way to know what writers we're looking for is, right now LoveToKnow generally covers about 90 different topics. If you go to our homepage and you drill down into our different categories, that'll give you an idea of some of the people we're looking for. But in general, I look for people who we do look for people who are experienced writers, but if somebody's an expert in their field and they're a good writer even though they don't have a lot of experience writing, we'll definitely look at them. An example is if we need a dogs writer, I would much rather have a veterinarian with great dog health expertise and dog behavior expertise who has an aptitude for writing work with one of our editors than have somebody who's a good writer but really doesn't know anything about dogs. So we definitely have flexibility if you have expertise in the areas we're looking for. One of our upcoming positions that we haven't posted yet, and I expect to post within the next week, is we're looking for some writers who have some experience but doing really snappy, fun lists, the kinds of things people look at, say, for example, on BuzzFeed, or really sort of pumping up our fun entertainment side, because we have a lot of serious information, but we also have a lot of fun entertainment and humor, and we are going to be working on hiring some writers specifically in that area. So if you've done a lot of sort of fun lists, social sharing kind of content, I'd be really interested to hear from those writers in the coming weeks. I think our other needs right now are for an antiques person. We're always looking for healthcare savvy people. We look for good crafters. We have a lot of how-to articles. I'd love to have a chef, another chef. We do a lot of fun cooking things. So those are just a few of the topic areas, but we're frequently looking for writers across the board. Oh, home improvement and interior design are another strong area for us that I'd love to find another writer in.
Great. I think that kind of gives a huge overview, or at least shows people the wide variety of things that they potentially could write about. And I know you mentioned Love to Know. You can go to the website to find the different topics that are being written about now and kind of get a sense of that variety. The next question is for Sandy at StenTel. This question, a number of people have asked what the pay structure is like at StenTel, not necessarily particulars, but how is pay determined? I think someone asked, is it by line, hourly, or minutes of audio? Kind of, can you just walk us through generally how that sort of thing works at StenTel?
Sure. Most of our accounts are paid by the line, 65-character line with spaces. We have some that are paid on a virtual black character, meaning every character you type, that's what you're paid for. The good thing with the editing jobs is the jobs come up with the black characters and you're not typing them, but you're paid for those. Some of the insurance or legal ones or special projects, those may be paid by the page, but those are, few and far between, but we do have some of them. But I would say mostly everything is paid by the line. For medical, rates can range anywhere from 5.5 to 7 for transcription, maybe 8 cents a line. And transcription editing jobs, those are paid probably about 2.5 cents a line for like a new graduate, or 3 to 4 cents a line for more experienced people. And then the other ones for insurance, legal, and police, those can range anywhere from 7 cents to 8.5 cents a line.
Great. All right. That's perfect. Thank you very much. Our next question is for Ty at Teach for America. Ty, a couple people are wondering if you need to have experience in an educational or education-related industry in order to apply for a job at Teach for America, even if it's not a teaching position. Does it help to have education industry experience, or is that not a requirement?
It is not a requirement, but it truly depends on the job at Teach for America. Like I said, there are jobs that are much more aligned with our teacher training, support, and development work. For those jobs, it does make sense for someone to have a background in teaching. But there's also strategy jobs on that very same team that impact the teacher training and development work that won't require somebody to have a background in teaching per se in order to determine the strategy for how we roll out new policies, procedures, and practices in each of our individual regions as it relates to teacher training, support, and development. So it truly depends on the role. And again, I redirect everyone to our job descriptions because I think that they do a really great job of indicating where a certain set of experiences or engagement with Teach for America previously would be a real necessary factor versus where it would be a nice to have but not a must have.
Great. All right. Thank you very much. A couple people are asking how they can find a link to the recording of this webinar. I can handle that one. Tomorrow, after about 24 hours after this webinar is over, you'll be receiving an email, and the email will contain a link to the webinar recording. So you'll be able to click on the link and view the recording whenever you would like. So that'll come out tomorrow. Everyone here who's attending today will receive an email with that link. Our next question that's coming up from a number of people, and this is sort of a general question for everyone, is when you're hiring people for flexible positions, do you require any sort of previous flexible work experience? So if it's a work from home position, do you require people to have worked from home before? If it's a flexible schedule, do you require people to have that kind of experience? So if each of you could just talk a little bit about what sort of flexible work experience you look for, if any, that would be great. Anne, do you want to start?
I certainly like to see it because I know somebody has sort of gotten through the challenges of managing their time and that they have a working home office, but it's not at all required. For me, it's a nice to have just because it tells me more that they know they're suited for that kind of work and that they're actively looking for an environment like ours. But as long as somebody can assure me that they have the correct home office setup and they have the correct skills, that's really all I need.
Great, thank you very much. And Sandy at StenTel, do you require previous flexible work experience?
It's not really required, but again, I agree with Anne that, somebody that's working from home and setting your own schedule for us, just being sure that communication is probably one of the biggest things on my end, that giving the account managers here that you work with, your changes in your schedule or anything like that. So somebody that's worked from home before, they're probably a little bit more due diligence of making sure I sit down and I get my work done. Not that I'm saying you sit there and you just get your work done, but you're around, you're available in the time frame that you give us that you're available. So somebody that's new to it, you just got to make sure you're making yourself, available when you say you are, or keeping that communication open with the account managers.
Yep, that makes sense. And Ty at Teach for America, do you have any previous flexible work requirements for your jobs?
No, we typically do not. I've never seen that. What we are looking for is proof that somebody has been self-driven in their work previously, that they have indicators that show us from their prior work that their success is not entirely dependent on someone looking over their shoulder each day, and that they can demonstrate that they have been really the driver of projects and the driver of their own organization, and when I say organization, I mean organizational systems to get their work done, without someone else having to offer that oversight and accountability to them. So we are looking for indicators of self-driven nature, but not necessarily somebody who's worked from home before. I think the skill set that can often be a very helpful skill set is someone who has managed people and has managed them remotely, because when we have to do remote management hiring, it's just a different skill set than other folks face in a more traditional work environment. An ability to hold people accountable when they're not in front of you it requires a whole different set of skills and practices that in-person management doesn't. And so we look for an enthusiasm for that, and some indicators that somebody can do that well. It's always a great plus if they have actually done it before, though.
Awesome. I think that's such a good distinction too, is the managing other remote workers versus being a remote worker yourself. There's definitely a lot of different things that go into managing remote workers. Well, thank you all. It sounds like flexible work experience is not necessarily required, but demonstrating that you have the skills and previous experience that would support you in a flexible work environment really makes the difference there. So thank you. Similarly, this question is for everyone here on the panel, so we can start with Anne again at LoveToKnow. Do you require any additional equipment? I know you had mentioned having a good home office setup, so even if there isn't a requirement for specific equipment with your jobs at LoveToKnow, can you just talk about what a nice home office looks like to you, what a good home office would be?
Okay, yeah, it really depends on the role somebody is, because, for example, for a writer, which is our most prevalent job, I need somebody to have a good, fairly up-to-date computer and basically a broadband internet connection. A phone helps, and the reason their computer needs to be up-to-date is just to make sure that they're running the latest browser so they can log into our content management system, so that they can use an instant messaging program if they want to access us. For some of our other roles, like an engineering or QA role, sometimes we have more specific equipment because, for example, for a QA person, we would be testing things across different platform environments. But it again depends on whether they're a freelancer just helping with one project, or they're a full-time employee, in which case we might provide the equipment. But most of our writers are freelancers, and again, they would be required to have just a good home computer with broadband and a good, reliable phone line.
Great. And quick follow-up there. Windows 7, someone's asking if Windows 7 is still acceptable as far as a relatively new home office computer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just, I've had people log in and they're like, oh, I'm on Windows 3.1 and your content management system doesn't work. Yeah, you're right, it doesn't.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So yeah, anything that's relatively new in the last few years should do the trick.
One of my two computers is running Windows 7, so yeah.
There you go. Perfect. And Sandy, over at StenTel, do you have any particular equipment requirements for your transcriptionist jobs or editor jobs? And if not, what do you like to see in somebody's home office?
Right. They supply their own equipment. We don't supply anything, so they're responsible. Having an operating system, Internet Explorer, a professional version of Microsoft Word or Microsoft Office. Student Teacher doesn't work with any of our platforms. most any internet connection will work except dial-up, and I think, most people don't have dial-up unless you're out there in the, boonies somewhere, but a lot of people are able to get satellite, and as long as you keep a good connection on your own, then the connection is fairly good. So that's what they would need to have. If they're on the medical transcription side, a medical spell check is definitely a plus and something you should have, because it's only going to benefit you and saving you time and having to stop and look up things. And a foot pedal is something that they should have, although they can use the F keys, which are the hot keys on many of the platforms. But if they do have their own foot pedal, it should be an Infinity USB that plugs into their hard drive.
All right.
We don't supply any equipment. We just supply that session to show them how to use the platform.
Great. Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yep.
And Ty at Teach for America, what requirements do you have for people who work from home?
So we provide all of the equipment that is required if you have a home office designated. So just to be clear, every staff member at Teach for America, whether they work from a home office or not, everyone is assigned an air card and computer. Everyone is assigned a phone if they need that for their job. If not, and they are using their personal phone frequently for their job, they can request a reimbursement of a portion of their personal cell phone bill. And for home offices where people don't have an actual seat in a regional office, we will reimburse a portion of at-home internet service to set them up for a home office. But computers, headsets, any other technology that's required for you to get your job done, we provide or reimburse a portion of.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And as you all noticed, I went to the questions slide that I should have been on this whole time. Sorry about that. So you can see that we're in the questions area now. But I did want to go over with the last few minutes just a couple things about what you can do. I know I mentioned some action items that job seekers can do in order to take what they've learned in this webinar and put it into action. So of course you can apply at all of the different websites that we've given you. But then what you should also do is do a ton of research. I think the most successful job seekers that we see tell us that they spend a lot of time before they apply to a job. They research the company, they research the jobs, they find out what's out there for themselves. They find out about other jobs that they might be interested in, other things that they might be able to do that are flexible jobs. And they're open to new options. We see so many job seekers who say, I've never heard of this job before. I never would have found this job had it not been for your site. So there are a lot of options out there that are new, jobs that didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago. And so really be open to that and do a lot of research. And I'll give you some ideas of where you can do that research in just a second. Also play up your remote experience. I know we were talking about everyone across the board, and Sandy and Ty all mentioned that while it's not required to have previous flexible or remote work experience, it is, good to see that you have the skills that it takes to work remotely or work flexibly. And so to put those things on your resume, your LinkedIn, and your job applications, and then find opportunities to practice working flexibly in your current job. I know we've had a number of people who've mentioned that they work from home occasionally, maybe 1 or 2 days a week, or during a snowstorm. If you're living in the Northeast and you had the winter that you had last year, you probably worked from home quite a bit. And so things like that do count as previous experience, and it helps you to hone your skills for self-management and time management and organizational skills, and just being able to be a proactive at-home worker who's effective and productive. So find opportunities to practice where you can. And then be on the lookout, BOLO, be on the lookout for work from home job scams. We noticed that most of the scams that we see out there are associated with the keywords work from home job or work at home job. So while we do refer to them casually as work from home or work at home, we also recommend that you look more for professional and legitimate keywords like remote job, remote work, virtual job, telecommute job, virtual office. The FBI actually designated work from home job as one of the top scam phrases a few years ago, and something to keep people in mind to look out for. So as you're doing your search, just be aware that there are scams out there for work from home jobs. Of course, the 3 companies that we have on here today are totally legitimate, and we definitely recommend them. and they have legitimate job listings. But there are less legitimate or not legitimate at all companies out there. So please be aware that they are. And if you do come across anything that you think might be a scam or you're not quite sure, you can always send it to our team at FlexJobs. You can email feedback@flexjobs.com and just ask us, hey, do you guys think this is a scam? And we will take it through our process and do a little research on it and see what we would think, whether we would call that job a scam or not. Our main goal, as I said at the beginning, is to help keep job seekers safe in their job search and to make job searching for flexible jobs faster and easier and safer. And so we're happy to help you to identify whether or not a job is a scam. Some helpful resources at FlexJobs. You can, of course, go to our blog. It's flexjobs.com/blog. We have lots of articles about specific job search scams, how to update your resumes and cover letters for flexible jobs, the types of jobs that are out there. You can find all sorts of information there. We also offer the free company guide, which I mentioned at the very beginning, and that's flexjobs.com/company-guide. And when you go there, you'll be able to search for flexible companies based on location, industry, the awards that they've won, whether they're featured employers on FlexJobs, a whole bunch of different ways to search. You can also search for jobs by location. So if you are interested in finding something that's relatively close to your home, you can do that. And also something to note, and we sort of discussed this with the different panelists, is that a lot of telecommuting jobs do have particular location requirements, whether it's to be in a certain country like the US or a particular state or even city. So please be aware of that as you're searching, that telecommuting jobs, just because you're working from home, it doesn't mean you can work from anywhere. So watch out for which locations are required, and the job listings will tell you that. And then you can also search by those 100 career categories and subcategories that I mentioned to find what you would like to do and what things work for you. So back to the panel, I just had a couple last questions. I know we have about a minute left here. Is there anything else that you would want job seekers to know about your companies? Anne, I can start with you and we'll go through with Sandy and Ty as well. But Anne, I'd love to know, is there anything else that you'd like people to know? I'll put the links for each company back in the chat box here so everyone has that as well.
Just that we're in a growth phase, and while I don't have the postings up yet, I do expect to announce several new job postings within the next 2 to 4 weeks. So please, if you don't see something today and you're looking for some different roles, check back in a couple of weeks, because we do expect to be posting several new positions.
Great, that's always good to hear, especially for the job seekers. And Sandy at StenTel, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Sure. As I mentioned, we have a new hospital that did start in May. Very large hospital, 1,000 dictators, and we have much more work that's coming on board. A lot of our openings right now are for second shift into the wee hours of the morning. I would say 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time through midnight, 1 in the morning is really where we're looking for a lot of people. And also they can do a split shift where they might do 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon and then log back in the evening and do a few more hours. So there is that capability, of course, because you're setting your own schedule where you can split it up. So plenty of openings for medical right now. Anything for legal, insurance, police, or general transcription, I can always hold on to your resume and get in touch with you when the opportunity comes and we're looking for people.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sandy. And Ty from Teach for America, anything else you'd like the audience to know?
Just that it's one of the greatest places in the country to work at Teach for America. Very collegial environment, a lot of great energy and enthusiasm and passion for the mission of our work, which is to support low-income communities through providing great teachers and make sure that all children have the opportunity to attain an excellent education. And I think that it is a great combination of sophistication and challenge with support and enthusiasm for a work environment. Also that we post on a rolling basis throughout the year. Our busiest season of hiring is typically the spring between May and July. However, all throughout the year we're posting roles, so keep an eye on the website for things that might be a fit for you.
Great. Well, thank you all very much. I think this was incredibly informative. We're getting a lot of thank yous in from our audience. So thank you to the whole audience for attending. Just for some follow-up actions, You will receive an email tomorrow with a link to the recording of this webinar, as well as all of the links to LoveToKnow, StenTel, and Teach for America so that you can apply and check out their jobs a bit more. And there will also be a quick survey, and in that survey, excuse me, you can sign up for the FlexJobs newsletter for discounts on FlexJobs memberships if you're not yet a member. But otherwise, thank you very much, Anne, Sandy, and Ty, for your time today. We really appreciated having you here. And thank you to everyone who attended. We hope it was helpful for you in your job search, and we wish you the best of luck in your future careers. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.